This is The Author's Perspective, TAP, a show set to take you behind the scenes of some of your favorite books. We will be delving into deeper conversations and let you get to know different authors whilst discussing some of the social issues affecting them. We are RM Publishers. Join us as we take you on this literary journey. Let's step right into it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Author's Perspective. Today, I'm being joined by Vonayi Nyamazana. She is a midwife. When I say a midwife, I don't mean like a hospital midwife, like baby. But what Vonayi has been doing is help people to give birth to their dreams. And she wears so many hats. And today, I just thought it would be good for her to come onto our platform to talk to us about what she's been doing, what she's been working on, and I promise you, you're going to feast on so much that she has been working on. Apart from writing, Vonayi is a wife and a mother. She's passionate about her faith, and she lives here in the United Kingdom. So I just want to welcome you, and I welcome to the author's perspective.
Hi, Runo. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here and just to talk about what it is that I'm passionate about and how I spend my time. So really excited, Runo. Thank you so much for having me here.
Very welcome. Has it been snowing where you are? Because here we've been hit by snow.
Well, we are in Aylesbury, which is like we are in a valley, so we are right at the bottom. So when we do get a little bit of snow, we know it's been heavily snowing elsewhere, like up north and in the Midlands. So we did get a little bit of snow. It didn't rise too much, but we did wake up to our lawns looking all white and white leaves, which was really pretty, but not a heavy snow, no.
Suppose it's cold because now I feel like I should have a nice cup of tea having seen your background there.
You can.
Yeah, so crazy not to dream. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because it has become a brand. So
it has. And it's crazy not to dream is my first novel. Not a novel, it's my first book really, which just encourages people to have a dream about their lives. Yes, that's actually the first edition. Right now I'm working on the second edition, which is more refined, it's fuller, it is much better, and I'm hoping to publish it in February. So it really talks about that we have the capacity to dream. You know, it's not something that I go and buy. It's not something that I need to strive for, but God gives us dreams. We are born with the dreams, with ideas, with thoughts. And sometimes it is that thought, that idea that comes that you need to grab a hold of. It is that one idea, one thought, one dream that just excites you, that you are passionate about, that you need to just start almost paying attention to it, start nurturing it, watering it, feeding it, and praying over it. And because it is not of your doing, really, because God is the one that inspires, God is the one that implants those dreams in us. When you go back to him, he will continue to just feed that dream and build it, and it grows to become an amazing oak tree, if you like. It's a seed. The dream is a seed that we all have. And I'm sure, Rudo, because I've been watching you now for years, this particular dream of becoming RM Publishers, I've watched it grow. It started as a seed. And because you were passionate about it, you dreamt about it, you think about it, it's almost like obsessing about it, So I say to people, you know what? It's crazy for you not to have a dream. You need to have a dream about your future, about your marriage, about your career, about your health. What is it? Where do you want to see your health in 2022? You know, I want my blood pressure to go down. I want my weight to go down. I want my mental well-being to be better. So have a dream about that and start thinking about what do you want to see happening there. So unless you do have that dream, you are not going to have a direction. It's like a man walking in the dark. It's like a man having no vision, because vision is light. Vision will direct you on the next steps that you must take. And a man without a vision going forward, he keeps looking back to what he has left behind. And every time we look back, we slow down our progress and we stay in that dark place. So that's where that book idea came from. And yeah, it's crazy not to dream.
Definitely relate, because obviously when we met, and then I found out about Crazy Not to Dream. It's not just a brand, it's also like a lifestyle in a way, because like you just said, it pushes people to think more about their lives, where they want to go. For example, with my brand, I just wanted, well, at first I thought, oh yeah, I'm a writer. But then I realized, oh no, hold on, there's much more to writing than, just being a writer. So yeah, and then because of that, your midwifery now comes in, whereby you push us to dream more, to do more, and to realize what God has placed in our lives. But also you've been doing that through Inspired Khaya. So are we going to be seeing any more conferences? Because that was really helpful.
Absolutely. When God gives you a dream, because the Inspired Khaya platform, for those that don't understand what Khaya means, it means home. So Inspired Khaya is a platform. It is the home of inspiration, where we encourage, inspire, motivate, and support people to be the best that they can be by chasing those dreams and doing something about them. So the first thing that came was the desire to bring women together, and almost like a peer platform where we encourage each other and push each other to say, you can do better than this. You are actually more than this. And I'm not saying that where you are is not enough, but when you are in God's kingdom, we are more, because God gives us exceedingly abundantly above all we can think or even imagine. And that's what pushes me every time, that, okay, so I'm here, I've done this, but there's more. And then the book then came after the conferences, so that people can have something they can take away with them. And the conferences have been happening every year since 2012. And because of COVID, this year we had a virtual one, which was beyond what I could have imagined, because I didn't think that we can do better than when we used to meet face to face. But it was just such an amazing meeting. So in 2022, we are definitely going to have another one. I am planning a virtual one, because as you can hear, we are not too sure where things are going, how the government is going to react, what sort of guidelines they are going to put in place. So to be on the safe side, we are planning a virtual meeting in February. So anybody listening who wants to know more about what we are doing, who wants to be encouraged to dream more, and it's going to be themed, It's Crazy Not to Dream. So you can come and learn more about the dreaming process and hear from others that have dreamt and have had their dreams come true. So definitely each year we will put on an Inspired Khaya conference.
I know that the pandemic brought with it so many downfalls, But one of the things that the pandemic allowed us to do was to think outside the box,
Mm.
and to dream again, to have new dreams. And you have been busy working on other projects. Can you share with us what you've been doing since the pandemic and up to now?
Absolutely. What happened for me in 2019 towards the end, I stopped working because of some restructuring. And that left me with so much time on my hands. And I was like, what do I do now? What can I do? I'm so used. I've been working for like 30 years of my life, you know. And so as we went into the pandemic, I started looking around and praying and asking God, what can I do? What am I good at? What have you given me? What other seeds have I been sitting on and not using? And then I realized this was the perfect time to write.
Mm.
And not just for me, this time I started writing for other people. So I started a ghostwriting service, and I write for people who have no time to write or who don't have the ability to write. And I also started book coaching others who want to write, but they need a bit of a structure and accountability. So I started doing that as well, working with an author or a writer, getting their idea on paper, structuring them, setting goals, and making sure I walk the different milestones to the point where they're actually launching their book within an agreed time frame, of course. And you know, because you continue to dream, how can I better this? How can I grow this? How can I make it even better for the people that I'm working with? And so I started doing consultations where you can bring in your book idea and or the little bit that you have written and got stuck, and then we can talk about that and plan the next steps forward, and you can go ahead and continue. So it's almost like unsticking somebody who got stuck and didn't know the way forward. So it's consultation, it's editing, proofreading, ghostwriting, and that, you know, from last year through to this year, really exciting. It's amazing how I feel when I've helped somebody. I'm as excited as the author themselves when they actually get their book in their hands and they are screaming and shouting, it's here, it's here. It's like giving birth. It's like holding your baby in your hands, and you thought, oh my God, I've waited so long to hold this baby in my hands. And so yes, that's what I've been doing, and I continue, like you said, helping people to birth their dreams, not just the book writing, but whatever it is that you feel you've been called to, or you've got this one idea and you really don't know what to do about it. Just that one conversation or a couple of conversations can help to get you moving and get you running, and birthing that one dream. So yeah, I think for the past 2 years, that's what it's been. And I don't stop the dreaming. I continue to think, okay, so I've got this strand, how can I grow it? And I've got this strand, how can I grow it? And I've got this strand, and I just continue to, whatever God has given me, my job, I think my responsibility is to take it seriously and to grow it and not to ignore it. And if I don't know how to do it, I will approach you, Rudo, and say, I don't know how to format books. I need help. You know, I'm not a publisher. How can you do this bit of service for me? Because we have to realize that you can't be everything, and you can't offer your clients everything. Sometimes you need to partner with others who are better at doing the things that you cannot, so that you provide a quality service that really meets your clients' needs.
Yeah, I think collaboration is an important thing because nobody can do everything by themselves. Even a company has a team. An author also cannot do everything by themselves. They need other services. So having other brands come into play really, really is an important thing. So when you are writing, then do you ever come across writer's block, and how do you deal with that?
I find that when I'm doing my own writing in particular, if I'm writing my own books, I do get writer's block. But if I'm writing your book, for instance, or my client's books, because you are giving me the information, I flow. It's so much easier to just flow and write that. But coming back to me, because you have this idea, you want to get it on paper, but sometimes you just hit this wall and you hit blank, and you're like, what do I do? So my ways of doing it's easier for me in the summer because I go for a nice walk or I go in the garden. I find that working in the garden really inspires me, because I'm working with the earth. I'm watching nature. I'm dealing with creation and watching something that I plant today. In a week's time, it's, oh my God, it's sprouted and it grows. That helps. I think it's the relaxation. It helps to unblock me. Or the other thing that I've noticed is if I'm working on something, for instance, not recently, last year I started a new venture that I've never ever done. I've been more of a non-fiction writer, which I find so much easier to do. So I decided to venture into fiction writing, which is a whole new world for me. And God, did I experience writer's block then. So I noticed, okay, so how can I do this? So what I do is I leave that bit of that section of the book and I go and I probably start another section where my brain is able to function and flow. And then after some time, that bit that had blocked will become unblocked and I can get back to it and continue. It could be building a character or a conversation that it just reached a dead end and you didn't know how to progress that conversation in the book, and leave it. But don't kill the whole project. Go and start on another character, maybe on another chapter where your brain is still able to flow and deal with that. And one day in the garden or walking or in a conversation, or even whilst you're watching TV, it unblocks and you can get back to it and continue to flow where you'd left off.
Yeah, those are really excellent tips. Do you have tips, because you being a writer and then experiencing editing, those are like two different things. So do you have like tips or even advice for authors? Because sometimes, when we get an author our way and they don't really understand the process, sometimes it's easy for them to have a perception that, oh, you're just fixing grammar and spellings, but there's much more is in there.
There is so much more to editing, and being an author, I just thought, I just write, whatever comes, I just write. But when I now ventured into editing, because initially I thought I can learn to edit my own work. And then I started reading and going into classes, and I realized editing and proofreading, they are two separate, completely separate from each other. And with the editing now, and I don't know if you've heard that editors are tough. They've had to be tough because of what they have to read and do every single day, because their job is to make sure that the concept and the idea that you have represented that in your writing. the outcomes that you wanted are there. The flow is, are your paragraphs and your ideas flowing from one to the next, from one paragraph to the next. We look at structure. Is it structured properly in terms of chapter 1? Should it be chapter 1, or should it be in chapter 6 really? And the last chapter, have you really brought everything together the way that you wanted to bring it together? Have your outcomes, is your title representing what is written in that book? It's editing is more than just checking for spellings and grammar and all that. Editing, I think, is the real deal, where when you're building, constructors are putting up a building, it's where they mix the mortar, they mix it properly, everything is mixed together. This is the editing bit, and it's one of the most taxing. It needs concentration, it needs time, and you don't do it once. Yeah. There's a first edit, there's a second edit, there's a third edit. The last thing that is done is the proofreading, where I go in and I check the spellings, which is easy. I check the grammar, which is easy. Now, my advice also to people is, don't rely too much on the checkers that we get online. They can miss things. Yes, use them, maybe as an initial one, but you still need to go back and just read sentence by sentence, word for word, and make sure that each word leads and links to the next. Each sentence leads and links to the next. So you are building words into sentences, into paragraphs that make sense. And each paragraph actually leads into the next paragraph, because I find sometimes the second paragraph just drops from the sky and there has been no link. You need to link what you are then going into to keep me reading, to keep the flow going. So this is the things that editors look into. We look into the tone, into the language that you have used. Are you pitching it in the right level? There's just so much, and sometimes I think we tend to skip this very important part of writing, but this is what will separate your book from just being a book to one that becomes a really good book and a bestseller. And you can tell the difference between a book that has been edited and proofread and one that hasn't. Yeah. And research. Don't just throw in facts because you've seen them on Google or someone just spoke about it. Research your book, whether it's nonfiction or fiction. Just research your facts. Where is it set? Who are the main characters? What do they like? It's so involved. If you want a good book, it takes more than 3 months to write it. Oh, yeah. And if you want to write well, read. Just read. The more you read, go and read the authors that you admire. Go and read the authors that write the same genre as you do. Read and learn. And the something else that I'm learning is how we love quoting other people, like old sayings, wise old sayings and proverbs and all that. They're all good and they bring your message across, but we have to learn to give credit. Definitely. It is so important. Give credit and don't just throw a quotation in there or flood the book with too much quotations. Sometimes it's too much, it clutters the book.
Referencing is quite important, because I think one of the things that Amazon does as well, if you don't reference where you got the information from, they block your book, because under plagiarism. And what you're saying is very important as well, because I once worked with, well, I didn't really work with them because it didn't get anywhere. What happened was that I'm not sure if they were using a ghostwriter. So because they are, uh, I'm not sure if I can say what they are as well. It was a scripture where we had to decide, because I read it, it didn't make sense to me the way the Bible would have explained it. And so I went back to, first of all, I went to my pastor and I said, can God burn people in the fire? Because that's what it was written there. And then my pastor gave me his own version. And then I went back to the author and I said, this is how I've read it from the Bible. This is how I'm reading it from your book. This is what my pastor has said. So do you really think that we can sort of change how it's sounding to make it sound a bit better? But because of ranking and position, I guess, people sometimes they feel like you don't really know what you're talking about because you hear from God more. So my my perception of the word has to be better than what you are putting in. But as editors, then how do we, or you yourself, how do you deal with situations like that where someone is saying, no, this is the right way, and you're saying, but no, hold on a minute, this is not how you need to present this to the world.
It's really having a conversation with your author and making them see that it is important that they present their message in a way that is acceptable. You can't vent anger, you can't vent hatred in your book, and then you want people to buy that book and you want people to understand you. So tone is very important. And I advise people that take me not just as an editor, but just as an objective person who's reading your book. Say I'm a reader in Birmingham or Bristol or wherever, and I'm reading your book. I'm going to tell you how I feel reading your book. It's important that I tell you, because you are not writing this book for yourself, unless of course you are and it's just going to stay in your house. But if it's a book that you are going to publish and you want the public to read, it's important that you get objective feedback. And I encourage readers to say, find a few people, better readers, that will read the book and give you feedback. And not just the editor, but just your target group. Because when you are writing a book, I believe you are writing it to a specific group of people. Now, if I'm writing a book about, for instance, I'm going to be a woman and say menopause, right? It's targeted at middle-aged women, right? And so I know how to target them. I know how to speak to them. I know the tone that I'm going to use in my book. It will not be a book that a 20-year-old will read. If I'm writing a book about fashion, I need to target a particular group, because you cannot write to everybody. So is this fashion book for teenagers? Then use teenage language, then you know what they like and you push for that. Is it for millennials? You know what millennials like. So if you're writing it for Christians, ask other Christian leaders, if they are Christian leaders. If it's for Christian women, find 2 or 3 and say, please, could you just read this for me and give me constructive feedback? They will tell you where they feel uncomfortable and say, is there a different way that you can say this? As your editor, I will bring it I will bring it to your attention. Now, I didn't know how important editors were, because when I initially published the book that you have there, Rulo, I was a novice. I really didn't know much about writing. I didn't know other authors. I actually knew nobody. And I just did what I thought was right. It was not edited by a probably professional editor. But now that I've gone through the experience of having an editor read my book, yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, they go through sentence by sentence, and they will challenge you on certain things. But I don't understand what you're saying here. What are you saying? What are you trying to say? This doesn't actually go with the rest of the paragraph or with the rest of the theme in this chapter. So they are so detailed. And when you do give them your book to edit, accept that you are going to be challenged on some things. If you disagree, you have to find a level point where you say, okay, let's agree to disagree, but then how are we going to make this work for the book? It's for the book, it's not for you, the author. Always remember, it's not about you. It's about the message and about the people that are going to read that message.
Oh, buy it because you want people to buy your book. You're not writing it for yourself.
You are not writing it for yourself. And just another thing that I have noticed is the writing process. That's probably the easiest part of your book writing journey. The hardest bit is the marketing, is to getting the book out there, getting people to buy your book. And you then get authors saying, it's not shifting. I've got boxes in my house. And you know, you have to tell them as we start the journey that you have to think about a marketing strategy. How are you going to market this? How are you going to get it out there? You have to think about the pricing of your book. You have to think about all these things. If you are not good at doing it,
somebody else.
It's somebody else. There are many people that can help you with marketing. Publishers do it, or independent marketers, they will do it for you and get it out there. But it's a process that you have to start thinking about when you are starting to write. Yeah. How many books do I want to sell? To whom? Where?
That's very, very important. And also earlier we were talking about collaborations, and you've gone to collaborate with other people, and you've written other books as well. Can you tell us some of the books that you have written that you've collaborated with others?
We have I collaborated with 56 other women, and we published a 365 women's devotional. I don't know if you have it there.
It's not here. It's on my bedside because I read it when I wake up and when I'm going to bed.
So is this the right way up?
Yeah. I've got that one.
So it's 365 days of inspiration, of encouragement for women. And it was written by 56 women. I thank God because this project came when I had just left work and I had nothing to do. So this is what I think catapulted me into writing with others, writing for others, starting to edit. I learned so much. I didn't know much. And of course, RM publishers at that time were taking time out. You know, and I really learned much more than I knew before about the formatting process, the editing, the publishing. So this is a learning. It really was a learning curve. It is not perfect, but I learned so much. And from there, when we published this, I started getting more queries and, please, can you help with this? Can you help me with my book? I really want to do this. So it's the collab there was amazing. And I've also collaborated with two other ladies, and we published a book called I'm now forgetting, God, Unlocked and Released. Unlocked and Released, and that's more of an ebook, but it was written during lockdown and talking about being unlocked from things that have held you back, limiting beliefs, locking you from being the best that you can be, being the best that God wants you to be. So for that one, I wrote with Tendai Ndoro and Rumbidzai Funzawabaya, and we published that as an ebook. So really exciting. There's so much for book writers out there. There's so much that you can do. And don't be limited to what you think you know. You just have to continue stretching yourself and what you think you can do, stretching your mind, stretching your imagination. If you've been writing nonfiction, honestly, there is nothing as exciting and nothing that stretches your mind as writing fiction. It is so exciting, and I challenge you, just try it. Don't be limited by what you know, and move away from the comfort zone. There's so much more out there for writers.
Talking of which, do you have any collaborations that are on the horizon when it comes to fiction?
At the moment, because I'm just starting out, when you've got a new baby coming, it can be, you can get nervous. What will people say? Have I done a good job? But I am looking into collaborating with people like yourselves to do more of the fiction work, and looking more into African romance based in the diaspora, which is always sometimes comical, sometimes really sad, but we want to bring that into literally fiction and have people just read. And it's not just about reading as well. It's about learning. It's about learning from other people's experiences. And it can be therapeutic if you have gone through the certain experience and see it written and how somebody else managed to get through the particular difficulties. We are looking at bringing real life difficult issues into fiction, into people's lives, and then see how they were worked out. And so that is a project that I'm looking to go into in the next year, 2022. But it's African romance. I think we need more African romance, diaspora romance. I think we need more of that in fiction, especially in the Western world.
Yes, I think we have so many inspirational books and self-help books, and a lot of people I'm sure a lot of people can really write fiction, but it's not knowing where to start. And you're having that platform. So because you do a lot of writing books and all of that, do you have anything that you enjoy doing? Because you mentioned gardening and other things, but do you have anything that you like doing outside of your writing time?
Yeah, I mean, the writing, to be honest, it takes up so much time anyway. It can be so overwhelming. It can just take up, before you know it, the day's over because you've been writing. And now I've actually gone back to working full time. So writing becomes my time where I really enjoy myself and I do something that I love. I can be writing even simple poetry, or continuing with the books that I'm hoping to publish for myself. Because in the past 2 years, I've written close to 10 books. In the past year, close to 10 books for others, ghostwriting. So now I really want to write my own. So that does take up time. We are in winter, So gardening at the moment, I've had to set it aside. I do love being out in the garden. If I'm not gardening, I'll be sitting in the sun or watching TV. Honestly, I love watching TV because for me, it's such a luxury. I don't have the time to do it. So when I can sit down and watch the new rave these days is Showmax. So if I can do that, and sit down there, not having to write, not having to go to work, it's everything, and I love meeting friends for tea and coffee, and mentoring young, not just young, but just mentoring women in different aspects, because Inspired Khaya really is about supporting women and encouraging women. So I never get tired of talking to women about anything, basically, as long as it helps them.
That's really good. What are you currently watching on Showmax?
On Showmax, I'm always there at the weekend, especially because I get extra time on a Sunday after church. I love watching Gomorrah. I love watching that. I love watching The River. And there's something I discovered lately. It's called Umkoka. Umkoka. And I always say to my friends, oh my God, I've discovered the African green leaf, because it's based in a church. So anything that comes along on Showmax, honestly, you can ask me, I'll tell you what to watch. It's for me, it's just such a luxury for me to have that time. I enjoy it so much.
That reminds me, I saw the pastor from The River.
Yes.
Yeah, he was on another show, but he was acting as a sugar daddy. And I said,
I know, I've watched that one as well. I was so wrong. From a pastor to a sugar daddy, honestly, the extremes. I just said, no, go and get your Bible.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Vonayi, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure chatting to you. I am sure our listeners and our audience will really benefit from your expertise as an editor and as an author. And we hope that we will see you in the future, and we'll put all your links for people to connect with you. And we will join you for your Inspired Khaya event. And do you have any final thoughts for us before we close?
Just dream. It's crazy not to. It's cheap, it's easy. You do it lying down, you do it sitting up, you do it, I'm talking about the dreams that we have when we are awake, and you just allow your brain to paint a picture of a future that you desire for yourself, and then just take that before God. So just dream. What is it that I want to see happening in the different strands of my life? And I will continue to say it is crazy not to dream for myself and for yourself.
And thank you so much. See you soon.
Thank you, Rudo. Thank you so much for having me. All the best.
That's it, everybody. We'll see you in the next episode of Author's Perspective. If you haven't already, subscribe. The links are on the bottom to connect with Vonayi. So yes, thank you, Vonayi. Bye.
Bye.